everybody, what's going on? Let's do a 2010 NFL Draft breakdown, shall we? And before I start this video, let me just say I hope the lights are okay. I hope I'm not too overexposed or whatever. I just wanted to do this video in front of that plant right there. I think that thing is gorgeous. I think it's breathtaking. I think it goes hand in hand with the 2010 NFL Draft breakdown video, don't you? Maybe? Anyway, the consensus winners were the Seahawks and the Ravens. I agree with that. You look at the Seahawks drafting Russell Okung, Earl Thomas, Golden Tate. They picked up Leon Washington from the Jets. I love their draft. And I'd give Pete Carroll credit for this. He didn't pull a Steve Spurrier. Remember how Spurrier used to compile all those ex-Florida Gators when he was coaching the Redskins, and a lot of them didn't pan out and really didn't turn into anything? Pete Carroll didn't do that. He could have fallen in love with his guy, Taylor Mays, the safety out of USC, but he didn't. He took the better all-around player in Earl Thomas, and the Seahawks are probably better off for that. I like a coach who doesn't just fall in love with his ex-team just because he was the head coach of that team. I think that's a good sign for the Seahawks. You look at the Ravens, I really love their draft. Their team's going to be tough. You talk about adding Sergio Kindle and Terrence Cody to an already really good defense. You talk about Ed Dixon, the tight end out of Oregon. I like that pickup. They had a really solid draft. And we can all agree on this. Tim Tebow being selected with the 25th overall pick by the Broncos after they traded 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks was a huge reach. It was an absolutely huge reach. I'm sure Tim Tebow fans are completely on board with that evaluation. My goodness, some of these Tebow fans are like Jerry Springer degenerates when anyone says anything that's critical about Tebow. I'm going to do a video sometime this week about all the hate mail I've gotten from these Tebow fans. My goodness, some of this stuff is ridiculous. I want to meet some of these people and see what they do in their regular lives. Are these guys okay upstairs or what? I'll do that sometime this week. It's somewhat disturbing and pretty entertaining at the same time. But seriously, Tim Tebow is basically a project at best right now. Something else that's funny to me. If you think about the Broncos drafting Tim Tebow, imagine if the Raiders did the same exact thing. If the Raiders took Tebow, 25th overall, after trading 3 picks, they would be getting hammered. The Raiders have had a rough go with some of their top picks over the last handful of drafts. And if they reached on Tim Tebow, oh my gosh. You're talking about second-guess city. But that was one of the underrated things about the draft. I really like what the Raiders did. They didn't make a typical, what are you doing, Raiders selection. It didn't happen. They took Rolando McClain out of Alabama. He's a good player. They didn't reach on Bruce Campbell, 8th overall, like a lot of people thought they would. They took him with the 106th pick. And they also picked up Jason Campbell, the quarterback from the Redskins. I like that move. I'm not so much sold on Jason Campbell as I'm not sold on Jamarcus Russell. This guy is clearly not the guy. It's better admitting that you made a mistake now instead of trying to stick with the guy that's clearly not the guy just because you took him with the #1 overall pick back in 2007. You're better off just admitting you didn't make the best pick and trying to go in a different direction. This signals the end of the failed Jamarcus Russell experiment with the Raiders, and that's a good thing. Sometimes the bigger mistake is not being able to admit that you made a mistake initially. I'm Brian Noe, and that's a no-brainer.